He didn't expect to be summoned. Not by the alien baron whose bloodline ruled half the quadrant. Not by anyone of real power. But Jace Trennan, a gritty ex-mechanic turned decorated soldier, found himself standing in the echoing crystal hall of Baron Vekasar, a being twice his size and 10 times as smug. Vekasar didn't even look at him. Not at first. The Baron lounged on a throne carved from obsidian, lazily swirling a drink that hissed in the air. The guards were silent, hulking brutes of flesh and chrome, their eyes glowing dimly. Something about the room made Jace sweat beneath his synthetic armor. Then the Baron spoke. Human, Vekasar purred, his voice like oil over gravel. You've won glory in battle. I reward my dogs when they bite for me. Jace clenched his jaw. He didn't like being called a dog, but he'd learned to shut up when the powerful were speaking. Vekasar motioned to the side, and 2 servants pulled back a curtain. There she was. Pale blue, thin as glass, her hair like a waterfall of silver. Slumped in a hover chair, unmoving. Her eyes stared at the floor, blank. Her fingers were twisted like broken twigs. A whisper moved through the court, some chuckled, some just looked away. My daughter, the Baron said flatly. Broken since birth. A burden. But perhaps she'll amuse you. The room burst into laughter. Jace blinked. This is a joke, he said, not sure if he was supposed to laugh. Oh, she is the punchline, Vekasar said, grinning. You humans think love conquers all. Let's see you conquer that. He turned and walked out, leaving Jace alone with a silent court and a girl who hadn't even looked up. He didn't walk away. He should have. He could have. But he didn't. He carried her out of the palace in silence. The guards didn't stop him. Maybe that was part of the joke. Jace didn't take her to his barracks or some soldier's corner. He booked a modest compartment on a freighter headed for the outer colonies. Quiet. Remote. A place where no one cared about noble blood or twisted limbs. The first days were quiet. He tried talking. She didn't respond. Not a word. He learned her name from a medical tag, Lyra. He cooked. Fed her. Bathed her. Not because he had to, but because it felt wrong not to. Something about her eyes, empty but alert, told him someone was still in there. A week in, he tried something new. He played music. Not the sterile, alien symphonies that filled the Baron's court. Real music. Earth music. Guitars. Pianos. Voices. She blinked. Not much. But she blinked. He played it every night. Then he started reading to her. Then he noticed her fingers twitching. He checked her records, she wasn't just paralyzed. She was locked in. Conscious. Aware. Trapped. He swore out loud. Then again. Then he promised her something. I'm gonna get you out of there, Lyra. I don't care what it takes. He found a retired neural tech on a mining moon, one of those quiet geniuses who'd pissed off too many governments to work on the big planets anymore. Jace traded half his war pension to buy time. The tech was skeptical. You want to hook up a royal daughter with busted spinal flow and no muscle response, to a high-fidelity neural link? Yes. You're insane. Jace nodded. Probably. They started the treatment. It hurt her. Not physically, but in her eyes. The strain. The overload. Like drowning in light. But she never looked away. By the 3rd week, she could move her index finger. By the 6th, she could tap yes and no. By the 2nd month, she spoke her first word. Why? Jace knelt beside her. Because someone should have given a damn. She cried. Silent tears. And then she asked for books. She devoured them. History. Engineering. Linguistics. Code. Her brain was a weapon the galaxy had buried. She had thoughts, strong ones. She had a voice, and now she had someone to hear it. But the galaxy wasn't ready for her. And the Baron hadn't forgotten her either. One evening, as they walked her slowly, using custom braces he'd modified himself, a courier drone arrived. Red seal. An invitation. Back to the court. She read it. Said nothing. Then she looked Jace in the eyes. I want to go. His stomach turned. Lyra, that place. I know. I want to show them I'm not a joke. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. He nodded. But they wouldn't go quietly. Not as beggars. She had plans. Blueprints. She began building. And Jace followed. They had no idea what was coming. And that was exactly how she wanted it. The ship that returned them to Vekesayar's palace was not the same rickety freighter they'd left on. This one was sleek, black, and carved with strange lines that shimmered in pulse with Lyra's breath. It was her design. Her signal. Her declaration. When they landed on the marble platforms of the central citadel, there was no fanfare. Just silent stares from guards and nobles who remembered her as a limp husk in a chair. She stood now. Not flawlessly. Her braces clicked with every step, and her fingers still trembled. But she stood on her own, chin high, eyes burning. Jace walked beside her, dressed in reinforced armor, not for protection, but symbolism. He wasn't just her companion. He was her shield, her sword, and her proof. They entered the court without being announced. It was the same room. Same smug faces. Same gold throne. Same man. Baron Vekesayar raised an eyebrow. "You've returned," he said, tone bored. Lyra didn't bow. "Not as your daughter," she said. A hush dropped like a curtain. The Baron smirked. "And what are you, then?" "A builder." A voice. A mind that was caged until she nodded toward Jace, found the key. Vekesayar's eyes narrowed. "This is bluster." Lyra raised her hand. A small cube hovered in. A projection lit the air. Schematics. Entire systems. Medical tech derived from her neural rehab. Efficient, affordable, replicable. "Your court mocks weakness," she said. "I've made it a resource." A few gasps. Some murmurs. But the old nobles weren't ready to give up their prejudices. "You think this will earn you a place," the Baron scoffed. "Your words are dust. Your mind," he sneered, "wasn't meant to carry a legacy." Lyra tilted her head. "Neither was yours. That's why you needed armies. I only needed one person to believe in me." Jace stepped forward. "This court's full of talk. She's built more with one hand than your entire bloodline in centuries." Vekesayar rose slowly. "You dare." A sudden voice rang out from the crowd. "Let her prove it." A noble woman. Eyes sharp, robes darker than space. One of the lesser houses. "What she built saved my daughter. Spinal decay, cured in a week. She doesn't need your throne. She's already changing lives." Others began to murmur. Whispers. Agreements. Fear. Power was shifting. But Vekesayar wasn't done. "You humiliate me in my own court," he growled. Lyra didn't flinch. "No. You humiliated yourself when you gave me away. I'm just finishing the story." The Baron stepped down. "I could end this now," he said quietly. With a word. Jace's hand hovered near his weapon. But Lyra met her father's eyes. "Then do it. And prove everything I've said. Or let the galaxy see what strength really looks like. Not in domination, but in creation." For a moment, the room held its breath. Then the Baron laughed. Short. Sharp. Bitter. He turned his back. Sat down. "Leave my court. And take your revolution with you." They did. By the time they reached orbit, she had hundreds of messages waiting. Medical alliances. Tech houses. Even species who'd refused to work with humans were asking for her designs. And Lyra didn't rest. She turned their ship into a lab. Jace helped weld circuits, install drive cores, patch antennas. Sometimes, they didn't sleep for days. They moved from world to world. Fixing things. Healing people. Giving voices to those who'd been dismissed. The galaxy began whispering a new name. The broken daughter who builds. But on a moon called Karos 9, things changed. They'd been helping a colony ravaged by industrial collapse. Poisoned air. Collapsing domes. Lyra's portable atmosphere stabilizers were saving entire sectors. Then the warning came. A bounty. On Jace. Issued by House Vekesayar. He wasn't shocked. But Lyra was furious. He tried to tell her it was fine. that he'd survived worse. But she wasn't listening. She disappeared into the ship's core chamber for 2 days. When she emerged, her braces were gone. She walked under her own power. Not flawlessly, but it was enough. And on her wrist, a band she'd never worn before. He raised an eyebrow. She simply said, "They want a war. Let's give them something else." Jace frowned. "What?" "A legacy." They released the blueprints. All of them. Freely. Public domain. Neural tech. Limb support systems. Atmospheric stabilizers. Bioregenerative fields. Everything. No patents. No fees. The Baron's house lost billions in a week. And still, they kept going. Not for vengeance. For hope. Because the galaxy had seen too many monsters in thrones. It was time they saw something else. The backlash came fast. They expected some resistance, slander, perhaps sabotage. But what came instead was silence. Heavy, watching, dangerous silence. Jace noticed it first. The way stations paused before accepting docking clearance. How old allies suddenly didn't respond to messages. How corporate fleets trailed their ship without engagement. Lyra knew what it meant. HFY wasn't attacking them with guns. He was isolating them. Cutting them from supply lines, influence, support. Old Empire tactics. But they'd prepared for worse. Still, one night, in the quiet hum of deep space, Lyra said something Jace hadn't expected. "I think it's time to disappear." He looked at her. "Run." "No. Change form. Make them think we vanished. So we can build without interruption." They faked a ship explosion. Easy, with the right fragments and a dead beacon. The galaxy mourned. The HFY dynasty didn't. And in the shadows, they went underground. They resurfaced on a rogue planet. No sun. Just heat from a molten core and dense cities built in the crust. Here, the forgotten lived. Outlaws. Engineers. Broken thinkers. Unwanted minds. Perfect. Lyra introduced herself as simply L. Jace became a myth. Rumors of the dead war hero who walked in shadows. And they started again. Not with weapons. With ideas. Lyra created the Fracture Codex, an open-source neural framework that anyone could build upon. It allowed minds locked by disease, trauma, or disability to communicate, build, and learn. She didn't brand it. She didn't sell it. She unleashed it. And it spread like wildfire. Children on broken colony ships found ways to speak. Soldiers with damaged spines walked again. A species on the brink of extinction, unable to evolve due to biological traps, adapted with tech based on Lyra's interface. All in silence. All in shadow. But that couldn't last. On a broadcast meant for a dying station, a girl spoke through a fracture unit. Her message was short. "Thank you, L. I'm alive because of you." It went viral. And with it came the truth. People started connecting dots. The designs, the tech, the language in the code, too advanced, too human, too familiar. The broken daughter wasn't dead. The galaxy erupted. Some called her a messiah. Some called her a traitor. But everyone knew her name. And HFY? He didn't speak publicly. He didn't have to. Because soon after the leak, a hunter came. Not military. Worse. A shade. Bioengineered, cloaked in synthetic flesh and metal, designed for one purpose: quiet, brutal, irreversible elimination. Jace recognized the signs before it even arrived. "His coming," he said, loading old weapons. Lyra didn't argue. She just activated the fallback systems she'd prepared months ago. The fight wasn't fair. It never was. The shade hit them in the deep tunnels, disrupting power grids, disabling AI, cutting off access routes. Jace went after it. Alone. He didn't tell Lyra. She found out anyway. Tracked him with a subdermal ping. Watched him square off against a creature faster, stronger, and smarter. He was losing. And she knew it. So she did what no one expected. She stepped in. Not with weapons. With code. She hijacked the Shade's neural driver mid-combat. Its movements stuttered. Jace struck. 2 blows. 1 detonation. It fell. Burning. He looked at her, breath ragged. You hacked a shade. She just stared, stunned at herself. I didn't know I could. And that's when she realized something. Her mind wasn't just healing. It was evolving. They left the rogue planet. 2 exposed now. But they took with them something powerful. The shade's core. Inside it, a map. Not of space. Of data. The HFY dynasty wasn't just hunting them. They were developing a mind weapon, something that could control or erase thought across species. Lyra didn't blink. We stop them. We stop all of it. Jace nodded. But how? She smiled, calm, terrifying. By being the voice in every broken corner. By making sure no one gets silenced again. She looked at the stars. They tried to use me as a joke. Then a warning. Now I'm a virus in their system. And I'm not going anywhere. They reached the end of the galaxy's leash. The far edge, where stars thinned, light faded, and signals became whispers. It was there, in the void between mapped systems, that they found the cradle of HFY's secret project. A station called Null Spire. Built into a hollowed-out comet, powered by dimensional siphons, it wasn't a place made for life. It was built for erasure. A neural silence chamber, designed to test control over memory, thought, even identity. And it was nearly finished. Lyra stood before it, the stars behind her, Jace at her side. I don't want to destroy it, she said. Jace raised an eyebrow. I want to overwrite it. He didn't question her. Not anymore. He'd seen her take the worst of what others gave her and turn it into power. So they infiltrated Null Spire. Not with armies. But with code. She let herself be captured. Plugged in. As expected. The HFY techs, hollow-eyed, whispering obedience, strapped her to the mindframe, eager to test their weapon on the same broken girl their Baron had once thrown away. They activated the interface. And the system began its final upload. Except it didn't erase. It multiplied. Lyra's thoughts didn't vanish. They spread. Her code burrowed through the station's network, rewriting every module. Every command. She didn't destroy Null Spire. She made it sing. Where once minds were meant to be silenced, now they were amplified. Where voices were stolen, now they echoed louder, stronger, unified. Across the quadrant, the effects spread. Slaves regained memory. Lost children woke up remembering their parents. Soldiers questioned their orders. The oppressed stood straighter. Jace fought off the few guards that resisted. But most didn't. Most just sat down, blinking as if waking from a fog. HFY sent a final message. You've ruined everything. Lyra replied with only one line. No. I fixed what you broke. Then she cut the channel. They left Null Spire floating alive, reprogrammed, open to all. A new library of minds. A cathedral of memory. A sanctuary. And then, they did something no one expected. They disappeared. No broadcasts. No declarations. They simply let the galaxy breathe. The tech they created became foundation. The people they freed became leaders. The minds they saved became storytellers. And slowly, the galaxy changed. Not all at once. But it did. Years later, a child on a forgotten moon asked her teacher where the fracture codex came from. The teacher smiled. From someone the galaxy threw away. And someone who picked her up. The child nodded. Were they heroes? The teacher thought. No. They were something better. They were believers. And far, far away, on a quiet planet no one mapped, an old soldier sat on a bench beside a woman with silver hair and steel eyes. She watched the horizon. Think they'll ever find us? She asked. Jace shrugged. Does it matter? She smiled. Not anymore. Because she wasn't broken. And he wasn't alone. They weren't legends. They were proof. Moral. Even the most discarded soul can reshape galaxies when given belief not in what they are, but in what they could become. And the strongest revolutions don't come with fire, but with faith, patience, and the refusal to let another voice be silenced.